Vanessa Main had always believed silence was beautiful, until her wedding day, when it started to feel like a warning. The church was too quiet, the clock too loud, and the air too heavy. Every heartbeat reminded her that something was about to go wrong. She stood in the small vestibule at the back of the old stone church, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the veil that framed her face. The fabric was soft, handed down from her mother, carrying the faint scent of lavender from the drawer where it had been stored for years. Outside, through the narrow window, she could see the overcast sky, gray clouds pressing down like an uninvited guest. The church itself was modest, a place her family had attended for generations, with wooden pews worn smooth by time and simple wildflowers tied to the ends with ribbons. No grand displays, just the quiet hum of anticipation from the modest crowd of family and friends inside. "Vanessa, you look stunning," Bella whispered, her best friend and bridesmaid, smoothing a stray curl behind Vanessa's ear. Bella's voice was light, but her eyes held a flicker of concern, as if she sensed the unease rippling through Vanessa's thoughts. "Thanks," Vanessa replied, forcing a smile. Her heart fluttered like a trapped bird, a mix of joy and nerves twisting in her chest. She thought of Dave Great, her fiancé, steady, kind Dave with his easy laugh and the way he always knew how to make her feel safe. They'd met at a local coffee shop 2 years ago, spilling lattes and sharing awkward apologies that turned into their first date. Today was supposed to be the start of their forever, a simple life in their cozy apartment downtown, with dreams of a small house someday and maybe kids running around the yard. But why did her stomach not like this? It wasn't just wedding jitters. Last night, she'd woken from a fragmented dream, a shadowy figure in the rain, a voice she couldn't place whispering her name. She shook it off, blaming the stress. "I'm fine," she told Bella, though her voice wavered. The air smelled of polished wood and fresh rain from the morning shower, grounding her a little. Juliet, her other bridesmaid and cousin, peeked through the cracked door into the sanctuary. Everyone seated. Dave looks nervous too, keeps fidgeting with his tie. She grinned, her dimples deepening. Jerry's up there with him, trying to crack jokes to calm him down. Jerry Dark, Dave's best man and old college buddy. Vanessa had only met him a handful of times, quiet, intense, with eyes that seemed to see too much. He worked in some vague security job, always traveling, but Dave swore by his loyalty. Vanessa nodded, her palms damp against the bouquet of daisies and roses she'd picked from her aunt's garden. The stems felt prickly, a small sting that matched the prickling doubt in her mind. The organ music swelled softly, a gentle melody that filled the space without overwhelming it. It was time. Vanessa took a deep breath, the cool air tasting faintly of incense from the morning service. Bella and Juliet squeezed her hands, their warmth a brief anchor, before stepping out to lead the procession. As Vanessa emerged into the aisle, the world narrowed to the path ahead. The wooden floor creaked under her heels, each step echoing like a promise. Heads turned, her parents in the front row, her mother's eyes misty, her father's proud nod. Aunts, uncles, old neighbors, a scattering of Dave's co-workers. About 50 people in all, their whispers fading into a hush. The light filtered through the stained glass windows, casting soft blues and reds across the pews, like a painting come to life. Dave stood at the altar, his suit a simple gray that matched the overcast day. His smile lit up when he saw her, erasing some of the shadows in her mind. He looked solid real, his hands clasped in front, fingers twitching just a bit. Jerry flanked him, straight-backed, his dark hair neatly combed, expression unreadable as always. Vanessa's thoughts raced as she walked. This is it. No more second-guessing. Dave's the one, reliable, loving. Why does it feel like I'm forgetting something? Her dress whispered against her legs, a light cotton blend that hugged her figure without excess. No train, no sparkle, just her, moving toward the future. She reached the altar, and Dave took her hand, his palm warm and slightly calloused from his job at the auto shop. "You okay?" he murmured, leaning close. His breath carried the minty scent of gum he'd chewed to steady his nerves. "Yeah," she whispered back, though her pulse thrummed in her ears. The minister, an older man with a kind face and wire-rimmed glasses, cleared his throat and began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." The words washed over her, familiar from rehearsals. Vanessa glanced at the crowd, spotting her little niece fidgeting in her seat, the rustle of programs like distant leaves in the wind. The church felt intimate, the stone walls absorbing sound, making every breath feel personal. She squeezed Dave's hand, drawing strength from it. But as the minister spoke of love and commitment, a subtle unease crept in. Vanessa's skin prickled, as if someone were watching her. Not the friendly gazes of guests, but something sharper. She shifted her weight, the bouquet heavy in her grip. "Just nerves," she told herself. "Everyone feels this way." The vows approached. Dave went first, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "Vanessa, from the day I met you, I knew you were the one who could make sense of my chaotic world. I promised to love you, to support you, through every up and down." Tears stung her eyes. Happy ones, she thought. But why did her mind flash to that dream again? A man in shadows, rain-slick streets, a sense of urgency she couldn't shake. It was her turn. She opened her mouth, the words rehearsed 100 times. "Dave, you've been my rock." A distant creak echoed. The front doors? No, probably just the wind. She continued, her voice gaining strength. "And I vow to stand by you, to build a life." The air shifted, a draft carrying the scent of wet earth from outside. Whispers rippled through the crowd, faint at first, then growing. Vanessa faltered, her words catching. Dave's brow furrowed, his grip tightening. Then, the doors burst open with a thud that reverberated through the church. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, echoed down the aisle. Gasps rose like a wave. Vanessa turned, her heart slamming against her ribs. A man stood there, silhouetted against the gray light outside. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black coat that hung like a shroud. His face emerged from the shadows, sharp features, dark eyes locked on her. He wasn't part of the guest list. He wasn't anyone she knew. The crowd murmured, chairs scraping as people shifted. The minister paused, book in hand. Dave stepped forward protectively. Who the hell? The stranger ignored him, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Vanessa." Her name on his lips sent a chill down her spine. She froze, bouquet slipping in her grasp. He took another step, his presence filling the space. "We need to talk." The stranger's words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and inescapable. "We need to talk." His voice was low, commanding, slicing through the stunned silence of the church. Vanessa's breath caught, her bouquet tumbling from her numb fingers to the wooden floor with a soft thud. Daisies scattered like forgotten promises. The guests were frozen, a tableau of wide eyes and parted lips. Her mother clutched her father's arm, her face pale against the simple floral print of her dress. An uncle shifted in his pew, the creak of wood amplifying the tension. The minister's book slipped slightly in his grasp, his mid-sentence vow to have and to hold dying on his lips. Outside, the wind rattled the stained glass windows, as if the world itself protested the intrusion. Dave released Vanessa's hand, his body tensing like a coiled spring. "Who are you?" "This is a wedding, not some." The man stepped forward, his black coat brushing against the aisle's edge. He was tall, broad, with a jaw set like stone and eyes that burned with unyielding certainty. Raindrops clung to his shoulders from the drizzle outside, dripping onto the floor in rhythmic plops. "My name is Michael Dark," he said, his gaze never leaving Vanessa. "And she's carrying my child." A collective gasp ripped through the room, sharp as shattering glass. Whispers erupted like sparks. "What did he say?" from her aunt in the third row. "Is this a joke?" from Dave's co-worker near the back. Bella and Juliet, still at the altar's side, exchanged horrified glances, Bella's hand flying to her mouth. Vanessa's world tilted. "His child?" The words echoed in her skull. Absurd, impossible. She'd never seen this man before. His face, angular and shadowed by a day's stubble, held no familiarity. No late-night encounter, No fleeting glance in a crowded street. Her knees weakened, and she gripped the altar's edge, the rough fabric of the cloth runner biting into her palm. Heat flooded her cheeks, a burning shame that made no sense because it couldn't be true. I'm not. I can't be. But doubt crept in, insidious, twisting her thoughts. Her last doctor's visit, routine, nothing unusual. Or had there been? A faint nausea lately, dismissed as nerves. No, no. Dave exploded forward, his face reddening, fists clenched at his sides. You son of a get out. Now. He shoved Michael's chest, but the stranger barely budged, his stance solid as the church's stone walls. Jerry, Dave's best man, moved quickly, placing a restraining hand on Dave's shoulder. Easy, man. Let's hear him out, then throw him out. Michael didn't flinch, his eyes still locked on Vanessa. It's the truth. She's pregnant with my kid. Liar, Dave snarled, voice cracking with fury. The crowd murmured louder now, chairs scraping as a few stood, craning necks. Her father rose halfway, hesitating, his protective instincts warring with confusion. The air thickened, laced with the scent of wilting flowers and anxious sweat. Vanessa's heart pounded, each beat a thunder in her ears. How does he know my name? Why me? Fear clawed at her throat. Fear of the unknown, of this man's calm assurance amid the chaos. She wanted to scream denial, to laugh it off as some cruel prank, but her voice stuck, trapped behind a wall of disbelief. Dave, please make him stop. Her mind raced. Was it a mistake? Identity mix-up? Or something darker? A stalker from the shadows? Shame burned deeper. Eyes on her now, judging, whispering. What if they're thinking I cheated? But she hadn't. She knew she hadn't. Proof, Michael continued, his tone even, almost gentle despite the storm he'd unleashed. I have proof. Medical records, dates that line up. We could discuss it privately. Vanessa, away from this circus. Dave lunged again, but Jerry held him back, muscles straining. Don't touch her. You hear me? Security. Someone call the cops. A cousin fumbled for his phone. The screens glow harsh in the dim light. Whispers swelled. Pregnant, but they've been together forever. From Juliet's side of the family, Bella rushed to Vanessa, wrapping an arm around her waist. Nessa, say something. Tell him he's wrong. Vanessa shook her head, tears blurring her vision. I don't know you, she whispered, her voice finally breaking free, raw and trembling. I've never met you. This is insane. But even as she said it, a sliver of curiosity pierced the fear. What proof? How could he possibly? Her free hand instinctively pressed to her stomach, a protective gesture that sent fresh waves of confusion crashing over her. Michael took another step, ignoring the growing unrest. The minister cleared his throat, attempting authority. Sir, this is a house of God. If you have business, it can wait. It can't, Michael cut in, his footsteps echoing as he closed the distance. Dave broke free from Jerry's grip, positioning himself between them, chest heaving. Back off, or I swear. Enough. Vanessa's voice rose, surprising even her. The room quieted, all eyes on her. She stepped forward, veil askew, her dress suddenly feeling too tight, too exposed. What do you want? Why are you doing this? Fear mingled with anger now, her pulse racing like footsteps in pursuit. Michael's expression softened fractionally, a flicker of something, regret, in his dark eyes. I'm not here to ruin your day, but you need to know, the child, our child, changes everything. I won't let you marry him without the facts. Dave's laugh was bitter, edged with pain. Facts? You're delusional. Vanessa, tell me this is bullshit. She wanted to. God, she wanted to wrap her arms around Dave and erase this nightmare. But Michael's certainty gnawed at her, a worm of doubt burrowing deep. What if there's truth in the madness? Shame flooded her again, imagined judgment from the guests, her mother's tear-streaked face, Dave's betrayal in his eyes. The church felt smaller, walls closing in, the air heavy with unspoken accusations. Jerry stepped in, his voice low and steady. Michael, right? Let's take this outside. No need to air dirty laundry here. Michael ignored him, focusing solely on Vanessa. Come with me. 5 minutes. Hear me out. No, Dave shouted, but Vanessa hesitated, her mind a whirlwind. Just to end this. To prove him wrong. The crowd's whispers grew frantic, a buzz like angry bees. Then, as if sensing her wavering, Michael leaned closer, his voice dropping to an intimate murmur that cut through the noise. You might not remember me, but that night changed everything. Vanessa's breath hitched. Michael's words, you might not remember me, but that night changed everything, ringing in her ears like a struck bell. Her vision blurred, the church's soft colors smearing into streaks of red and blue from the stained glass windows. What night? Her mind clawed at the impossibility, searching for a memory that didn't exist. Her legs trembled, the cotton dress clinging to her clammy skin, and she pressed a hand to her chest, feeling her heart batter against her ribs. The silence in the church was deafening, a heavy pause before the storm broke. Whispers hissed through the pews like wind through dry leaves. Who is he? Did she cheat? Poor Dave. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a sob. An uncle fumbled with his phone, the faint click of a camera slicing through the quiet. Vanessa's face burned, humiliation coiling in her gut. They think I'm lying. They think I betrayed him. Dave's voice exploded, raw and jagged. You're full of it. He surged toward Michael, fists balled, veins bulging in his neck. You think you can waltz in here and spew this crap? Get out before I make you. His gray suit jacket strained as he leaned forward, held back only by Jerry's firm grip on his arm. Michael stood unmoved, his dark eyes steady on Vanessa. His calm was infuriating, a still lake in the chaos. I'm not here to fight, he said, voice low, almost intimate. But I'm not leaving until she knows the truth. Truth. Vanessa's voice cracked, sharp with desperation. She stepped forward, shaking off Bella's gentle touch. I don't know you. I've never seen you in my life. Her words echoed, bouncing off the stone walls, but they felt hollow against Michael's unwavering gaze. Why is he so sure? Her stomach churned, a mix of fear and a nagging, impossible curiosity. What, there's something I missed? Bella rushed to her side, her floral perfume sharp in the tense air. Nessa, don't listen to him, she hissed, glaring at Michael. He's some creep trying to ruin everything. Her arm looped around Vanessa's waist, steadying her, but her eyes shot daggers at the stranger. You've got no right to be here. Leave. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a restless hum. A cousin muttered, this is insane, while another guest whispered, she doesn't look like she's lying. Phones glinted, capturing the unraveling scene, their screens casting cold light. The minister, glasses fogging with nervous sweat, raised a hand. Please, this is a sacred space. Let's. Sacred. Dave spat, wrenching free from Jerry. He pointed at Michael, his finger trembling. This guy's turning it into a circus. You're trying to wreck our lives. His voice broke, and Vanessa saw the hurt in his eyes. Hurt she'd caused, even if she didn't understand how. Her throat tightened, guilt and confusion tangling like thorns. Michael tilted his head, unfazed. I'm not the enemy, Dave. I'm here for what's mine. His gaze flicked back to Vanessa, piercing. You could deny it now, but the truth doesn't change. Her hands shook, nails digging into her palms. What truth? She wanted to scream, to shove him out herself, but her body felt rooted, heavy with dread. Her mind raced. Late nights at work, quiet walks home, coffee runs. Nothing. No moment where this man could fit. Yet his certainty gnawed at her, like a splinter she couldn't find. Was I drugged? Tricked? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, cold and sharp. Jerry stepped forward, his voice calm but edged with steel. Michael, you've said enough. Take it outside, or I'll drag you out. His dark eyes locked onto his cousin. Michael Dark, a name Vanessa now realized carried weight, a connection she hadn't pieced together. Jerry knows him? Jerry, Michael said, almost amused, always the loyal guard dog. He raised a hand, placating. I'm not here to cause a scene. Vanessa, I just need 5 minutes. Alone. No way in hell, Dave growled, stepping closer to Vanessa. His hand found hers, clammy but firm, grounding her for a moment. But his touch couldn't quiet the storm in her head. What if he's not lying? What if there's proof? Her free hand hovered over her stomach, instinctive, then dropped as if burned. She wasn't pregnant. She couldn't be. Could she? The guests were restless now, some standing, others leaning to whisper. Her father's face was stone, her mother's eyes red-rimmed. Juliet, still near the altar, clutched her bouquet like a shield, her lips parted in shock. The air smelled of rain and tension, the draft from the open doors carrying a chill that prickled Vanessa's skin. Enough! Vanessa's voice cut through, louder than she intended. All eyes snapped to her, and she hated it. The weight of their stares, the judgment she imagined. "You're wrong," she said to Michael, her voice trembling but fierce. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not part of it." Her chest heaved, tears threatening to spill. "Leave. Now." Michael's lips twitched, not a smile, but something close, heavy with secrets. "You're scared. I get it. But running from this won't make it go away." He stepped back, boots scuffing the wooden floor, each sound a hammer to her nerves. "I have proof. Documents. Dates. Things you can't ignore." "Then show them." Dave shouted, his voice raw. "Stop talking in circles and prove it, you coward." Michael's eyes never left Vanessa. "Not here. Not like this." His voice softened, almost pleading. "Vanessa, you deserve to know before you make promises you can't keep." Her breath caught. "Know what?" The question burned, but so did the humiliation, the betrayal in Dave's eyes, the whispers that felt like knives. She wanted to collapse, to disappear into the floorboards. Instead, she straightened, forcing steel into her spine. "Get out," she whispered, barely audible. Michael studied her for a long moment, then nodded once, sharp and final. "If you truly don't remember, then I'll remind you, after this wedding is over." He turned, his coat flaring like a shadow, and strode down the aisle. The door slammed shut behind him, the sound reverberating like a gunshot. The church fell into stunned silence, broken only by the soft patter of rain outside. Vanessa's knees buckled, and Bella caught her, murmuring, "It's okay, Nessa, he's gone." But it wasn't okay. The air felt wrong, tainted, and Vanessa's mind spun with questions she couldn't answer. What night? What proof? Who is he? Dave pulled her close, his arms trembling. "We're done with him," he said, but his voice shook, and she felt the doubt in his grip. The guests' whispers resumed, a tide of judgment, and Vanessa's world crumbled under the weight of a truth she didn't understand. Vanessa's world spun. The church doors slammed, still echoing in her bones, as she stumbled out into the gray afternoon light. Her wedding dress clung to her, heavy with the weight of humiliation, the cotton hem dragging through a puddle on the stone steps. Her chest ached, each breath shallow and sharp, as if the air itself refused to fill her lungs. What night? What truth? Michael's words clawed at her, relentless, shredding the life she'd planned with Dave. The murmurs of the guests followed her, a swarm of wasps buzzing inside the church. How could she not know? Poor Dave. Bella's arm was around her waist, guiding her down the steps, her voice a frantic whisper. "Nessa, slow down. You're shaking." But Vanessa couldn't stop, couldn't face the eyes boring in her back. Her mother's tears, her father's clenched jaw, the phone still recording her unraveling. Behind her, Dave's voice roared, raw with betrayal. "Get those cameras out of here." A reporter had slipped through the crowd, his questions sharp as knives. "Vanessa, is it true? Are you pregnant?" Dave shoved him, his gray suit rumpled, while Jerry tried to calm the shouting relatives. "Enough, everyone back off." The chaos felt distant, a storm she'd already been swept away from. "I need to find him," Vanessa said, her voice brittle, barely her own. She broke free from Bella's grip, her veil snagging on a rosebush by the church gate, tearing with a soft rip. The drizzle had stopped, leaving the air damp and heavy, smelling of wet pavement and fading flowers. Her pulse thundered, urging her forward. He can't just walk away after that. I need answers. "Nessa, wait," Bella called, her heels clicking as she hurried after her. You can't go after that lunatic. Let the police handle it. No, Vanessa spun, her eyes blazing through unshed tears. He knows something. He said there's proof. Her hands trembled, clutching the air as if it could anchor her. I've never met him, Bella. Never. So why is he doing this to me? Her voice cracked, fear and fury tangling. What if he's not lying? The thought was a poison, seeping into her veins. Bella grabbed her arm, her face pale. You're not thinking straight. Let's go back, talk to Dave. Dave thinks I betrayed him. Vanessa snapped, the words cutting her own heart. She saw his face again, hurt, doubt, the man she loved looking at her like a stranger. She turned away, scanning the quiet street. The church sat on the edge of town, flanked by old brick buildings and a narrow road. A black car idled a block away, its sleek shape unmistakable. Michael. She moved before she could think, her dress swishing against her legs, damp hem slapping the pavement. Bella's protests faded as Vanessa's focus narrowed to that car, to the man who'd shattered her day. The street was nearly empty, late afternoon light casting long shadows, the air cool against her flushed skin. A distant car horn blared, sharp and fleeting, but all she heard was her own heartbeat, pounding like a drum. The car door opened as she approached, and Michael stepped out, his black coat stark against the gray day. He leaned against the hood, hands in his pockets, his calm infuriatingly intact. His dark eyes met hers, unyielding, as if he'd known she'd come. Vanessa, he said, her name soft on his lips, like a secret he'd held too long. Who are you? She demanded, stopping a few feet away, her voice shaking but fierce. Her fists clenched, nails biting into her palms. Why are you doing this? I don't know you. The words spilled out, raw and desperate, her breath hitching. He's lying. He has to be. Michael's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed steady. You don't remember. I get it. But there was a night, Vanessa. 4 months ago. You were at a bar downtown, Murphy's, near the old theater. You were upset, drinking alone. Her stomach dropped. Murphy's? She knew the place. Dim lights, sticky tables, the kind of bar where locals drown their bad days. She'd been there, yes, after a fight with Dave about moving in together. But alone, not with this man. You're wrong, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't meet anyone. I'd remember. He tilted his head, studying her. You were out of it. Someone slipped something into your drink. I stepped in, got you out of there before things got worse. His words were measured, each one landing like a stone in her chest. We talked. You told me things, your name, your fears. And then what? She snapped, stepping closer, her hands trembling. You're saying I what? Slept with you? That's impossible. Her voice rose, cracking under the weight of her denial. I'd know. I'd feel it. But doubt flickered, a shadow she couldn't shake. Her nights were usually clear, but that one, hazy. Too many drinks, a blur of faces. No, it's not true. Michael's eyes softened, but his stance didn't waver. I'm not saying you wanted it. Neither of us did. It was a mistake, a night neither of us understood. But the result, he paused, his gaze dropping to her stomach, then back to her face. It's real. Her breath caught, a sob she refused to let out. You're lying, she whispered, but her hand drifted to her abdomen, instinctive, betraying her. I'm not pregnant. I can't be. But the nausea, the fatigue she'd blamed on stress. Her vision blurred, tears stinging but not falling. Bella caught up, breathless, grabbing Vanessa's arm. Get away from her, she shouted at Michael, her voice sharp with protective fury. You're sick, making this up. Michael ignored her, his focus locked on Vanessa. I didn't want to do this at your wedding, but I couldn't let you marry him without knowing. Knowing what? Vanessa's voice was a plea now, raw and broken. You say there's proof. Show me. Her hands shook, her dress damp against her legs, the street's quiet hum amplifying her fear. Michael reached into his coat, slow and deliberate, and pulled out a small, folded paper. He held it out, his eyes never leaving hers. You can deny me, Vanessa, but you can't deny what's growing inside you. Her heart stopped. The paper, an ultrasound photo, grainy and small, but unmistakable. a tiny shape of life. Her knees buckled, and Bella caught her, cursing under her breath. Vanessa stared at the image, her world fracturing. It's not possible. It can't be. Vanessa stood frozen, the ultrasound photo in Michael's outstretched hand a blur of black and white, its tiny shape searing into her mind. His words, "You can deny me, Vanessa, but you can't deny what's growing inside you," hung like smoke, choking her. Her breath hitched, ragged and shallow, as the late afternoon light dimmed around them, casting long shadows across the quiet street. The damp air clung to her skin, her wedding dress heavy, the torn veil fluttering like a ghost at her side. This isn't real. Her hand hovered over her stomach, trembling, then fell. It can't be. Bella's voice cut through, sharp and fierce. "You're disgusting. Get away from her." She yanked Vanessa back, her grip tight, protective. "Nessa, let's go. Now." Vanessa's eyes stayed locked on the photo, her mind screaming denial. "That's not mine," she whispered, but her voice cracked, betraying the doubt creeping in. Michael's gaze was steady, too certain, his calm slicing through her panic like a blade. She turned, stumbling away, Bella's arm guiding her as the world tilted. The black car's engine hummed behind them, a low growl fading as they hurried back toward the church. The street was empty now, the gray sky deepening to dusk. Vanessa's chest tightened, her pulse a relentless drum. He's lying. He has to be. But the ultrasound, its grainy image burned in her memory. She saw Dave's face again, his hurt, his doubt, and her stomach twisted with guilt. I didn't betray him. I didn't. But why did Michael's words feel like a key to a lock she didn't know existed? Back at her apartment, the night stretched endlessly. Vanessa sat on the edge of her couch, still in her dress, the fabric crumpled and stained. Bella had stayed, brewing tea that sat untouched, the steam curling into the air. The room smelled of rain-soaked cotton and the faint lavender of her mother's old veil, now draped over a chair. Outside, rain tapped the windows, a soft, insistent rhythm matching the ticking clock on the wall. Dave hadn't come home. He'd texted, saying he needed space, his words cold and clipped. Space. The word stung, a wound she couldn't bandage. "Nessa, you need to sleep," Bella said, her voice soft but strained. She sat across from Vanessa, her hands twisting in her lap. "That guy's a liar. We'll call the cops tomorrow, get a restraining order." Vanessa shook her head, her fingers digging into the couch's worn fabric. "He had a photo, Bella. An ultrasound." Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. What if there's something I don't remember?" The question felt like a betrayal, to Dave, to herself. She pressed her palms to her eyes, willing the tears away. I'd know. Bella leaned forward, her brows furrowing. "You were never with him. You've been with Dave for 2 years. You don't just forget something like that." But Vanessa's mind churned, replaying Michael's words. Murphy's. 4 months ago. A drink. A blur. She'd been there, yes, drowning a fight with Dave. Alone. Or had she been? The memory was foggy, edges blurred like a dream. She stood abruptly, pacing, the floorboards creaking under her bare feet. "I need to know," she said, more to herself than Bella. "I need to prove he's wrong." By morning, the rain had stopped, leaving a damp chill in the air. Vanessa sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, the screen's glow harsh against her tired eyes. Bella had gone home, reluctantly, after Vanessa promised to call later. The apartment was too quiet, the clocks ticking louder now, each second a reminder of her unraveling life. She dialed her doctor's office, her fingers shaking as she punched the numbers. "Dr. Carter's office," the receptionist chirped. "It's Vanessa Main. I need to check my records. Have I been in recently? For anything unusual?" Her voice wavered, her free hand clutching the edge of the table. A pause, then the sound of typing. "You were here 4 months ago. Routine checkup. Nothing unusual noted. Why, is something wrong?" Vanessa's throat tightened. "No, just checking. Can you confirm if I was tested for anything else? Pregnancy, maybe?" Another pause, longer this time. "No pregnancy test on record. Would you like to schedule one?" She hung up, her heart pounding. Nothing. He's lying. But the doubt lingered, a splinter she couldn't pull out. She opened her laptop again, scrolling through her calendar from 4 months ago. Work, coffee with Bella, a charity bake sale at the community center. Nothing out of place. But then a gap. A Thursday night blank, no notes. Murphy's. Her stomach churned. She called Bella, her voice urgent. Do you remember that night at Murphy's? After my fight with Dave? Did anything weird happen? Bella hesitated, her voice crackling over the line. You were pretty out of it, Nessa. You said you had too many drinks, felt dizzy. I wanted to drive you home, but you said someone helped you get a cab. Some guy, you didn't say who. Vanessa's breath caught. Some guy. Her hands shook, the phone slipping in her grip. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't make a big deal of it. You said you were fine, just needed to sleep it off. Bella's voice softened. Nessa, you don't think. I don't know. Vanessa snapped, then softened. I'm sorry. I need to know. She hung up, her mind racing. A cab, a stranger, a night she couldn't fully recall. She opened her email, searching for anything, receipts, messages, anything from that night. Nothing. The day bled into evening, the sky outside her window turning bruised purple. Vanessa's eyes burned from staring at her screen, her coffee cold beside her. She called the hospital next, asking about any emergency visits. The clerk was curt. No record under your name, Ms. Main. But something in the woman's tone, a hesitation, made Vanessa's skin prickle. What if it wasn't under my name? Her phone pinged, a new email from an unknown address. Her heart stopped. The subject line was blank. She clicked, her fingers trembling. A scanned document loaded. A hospital report dated 4 months ago. Her name, Vanessa Main, in stark black type. Below it, a signature, Michael Dark. Her breath caught, the room spinning. No, it's not possible. Vanessa stared at the hospital report on her laptop screen, the stark black text of her name, Vanessa Main, burning into her vision. Michael Dark's signature scrawled beneath it, bold and undeniable, twisted her stomach into knots. The room spun, the bruised purple sky outside her window deepening to night. The ticking clock on the wall mocked her, each second amplifying her shock. This can't be real. Her fingers trembled, hovering over the keyboard, as if closing the email could erase the truth staring back at her. But it couldn't. The ultrasound, the report, Michael's calm certainty. They were puzzle pieces that didn't fit her life. Who is he? What happened to me? Her breath came in shallow bursts, the air thick with the scent of cold coffee and rain-soaked cotton from her crumpled wedding dress, still draped over the couch. She stood, pacing the small apartment, the floorboards creaking under her bare feet. Her mind churned, replaying that night at Murphy's, foggy, fragmented, a gap where memories should be. A drink, a cab, someone helping me. Bella's words echoed. Some guy, you didn't say who. Vanessa's chest tightened, fear and curiosity warring inside her. She couldn't ignore this anymore. She needed Michael to explain, to make sense of the impossible. She grabbed her phone, her hands shaking as she typed a message to the unknown email address. Meet me. Tonight. Tell me everything. Her thumb hesitated over send, her heart pounding. What if he's dangerous? But the report, the ultrasound, they were real, tangible, demanding answers. She hit send, the soft ping cutting through the silence. An hour later, her phone buzzed. A reply. Corner of 5th and Elm. 9 p.m. My car. No signature, but she knew it was him. She glanced at the clock. 7:45 p.m. The night pressed against her windows, street lights flickering through the glass. She changed into jeans and a sweater, the wedding dress left in a heap, a relic of a life now fractured. Her hands shook as she tied her sneakers, the laces slipping in her clammy grip. The streets were quiet as she walked, the cool October air biting her cheeks. The faint hum of distant cars mixed with the rustle of leaves skittering across the pavement. Her pulse thrummed, each step toward 5th and Elm heavier than the last. He's lying. He has to be. But the report's weight anchored her doubt, pulling her forward. She reached the corner, a dimly lit stretch where old brick buildings loomed, their windows dark. Michael's black car idled under a street lamp, its sleek frame glinting like a predator in wait. She hesitated, her breath visible in the chilly air, then approached. The car door opened, and Michael stepped out, his black coat blending into the shadows. His eyes found hers, steady but softer than before, a flicker of something, guilt, beneath his calm. "You came," he said, his voice low, almost relieved. Vanessa held up her phone, the hospital report glowing on the screen. "Explain this," she demanded, her voice trembling but sharp. "My name. Your signature. What did you do to me?" Her hand shook, the phone's light wavering. "I don't know you. I'd remember." Michael gestured to the car. "Get in. It's private." "No." She stepped back, her sneakers scraping the pavement. "Here. Now. Tell me what happened." He sighed, his breath clouding in the cool air, and leaned against the car, hands in his pockets. 4 months ago, you were caught in something you weren't meant to be part of. A car accident, late at night, near Murphy's. You were unconscious, brought to a private clinic. They thought you were someone else, someone they were looking for. Her heart stuttered. "An accident?" She shook her head, her mind scrambling. "I'd remember a crash. I wasn't in any accident." But her voice wavered, doubt creeping in. That night was a blur. Drinks, dizziness, a cab she'd barely recalled. "Was there more?" "You were out of it," Michael said, his tone measured but heavy. "The clinic, it didn't ask questions. They treated you, ran tests, but your ID wasn't yours. It was a mix-up, Vanessa. I was there, handling business. I saw them bring you in, realized the mistake. I made sure you got out, got home safe." Her knees weakened, and she gripped a nearby lamppost, its cold metal grounding her. "You're saying I was what? Drugged? Misidentified?" Her voice rose, cracking with anger and fear. "And you signed my hospital report? What?" The ultrasound flashed in her mind, that tiny shape. "No, it's not possible." Michael's jaw tightened, a shadow of guilt crossing his face. "I didn't know what they'd done until later. The test they ran, they confirmed you were pregnant. I've been trying to find you since, to tell you before." He trailed off, his eyes dropping to her stomach, then back to her face. "I didn't want it to happen like this." Her breath caught, tears stinging but refused. "You're lying," she whispered, but her hand drifted to her abdomen, instinctive, betraying her. "Pregnant? From what?" Her mind raced. Nausea she'd blamed on stress, fatigue she'd ignored. "I wasn't in any accident. I'd have scars, records, something." But the report, his signature, the ultrasound, they were real, staring her down. Michael stepped closer, his voice softer now. "The clinic wasn't exactly legal. They covered it up, buried the records. I kept that 1 inch." He nodded at her phone. "Because I knew you'd need proof." Her throat tightened, disbelief warring with the evidence in her hand. A clinic, a mistake, a pregnancy. She wanted to scream, to shove him away, but his vulnerability, that fleeting guilt in his eyes, held her still. "He's not what I thought." But the fear lingered, sharp and cold. "Why me?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why do you care?" He looked away, the street lamp casting shadows across his face. "Because I was there. Because I couldn't let them keep you in the dark." He paused, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You weren't supposed to be there that night, Vanessa. They were after someone else." Her heart stopped, the words slicing through her. Someone else. The air felt heavier, the night closing in, street sounds fading to a dull hum. Her phone slipped in her grip, the report still glowing, a truth she couldn't unsee. Who were they? What did they do to me? Vanessa's heart stopped, Michael's words slicing through her. Someone else. The air felt heavier, the night closing in, street sounds fading to a dull hum. Her phone slipped in her grip, the hospital report still glowing, a truth she couldn't unsee. Who were they? What did they do to me? She stared at Michael, her breath ragged in the cool air, the street lamp casting harsh shadows across his face. Anger surged, hot and sharp, mingling with the fear that clawed at her throat. Trust him? After everything? But his eyes held a vulnerability she hadn't seen before, pulling her in despite herself. "Who?" she demanded, her voice a whisper edged with steel. Who was supposed to be there? And why me? Why mistake me for her? Her hands clenched, nails digging into her palms, the chill of the lamppost seeping through her sweater. The quiet street felt too exposed, the dim lights flickering like warnings. Michael exhaled slowly, his breath visible in the night air, and glanced around before meeting her gaze. His dark eyes softened, a flicker of regret crossing them as he studied her face. Her name was Elena. She looked just like you, same hair, same build. She was mixed up with some dangerous people, a network that doesn't forgive debts. He paused, his jaw tightening as if the words cost him. That night, it was a setup. They were going to make her disappear, stage an accident. But you were in the wrong place. Vanessa's mind reeled, fragments clicking into place like jagged puzzle pieces. The hospital report, dated that night, tests she didn't remember. The blur after Murphy's, the dizziness she'd blamed on drinks. A car accident, she murmured, her voice trembling. You said I was unconscious. But I don't have scars, no bruises the next day. How? He shifted, his coat rustling softly, and stepped closer, his presence both comforting and overwhelming. She caught a faint scent of leather and rain on him, grounding in the chaos. They hit your cab, thinking it was hers. You blacked out, but it wasn't bad. No major injuries. The clinic patched you up quick, ran those tests because they thought you were Elena. When I realized the mistake, I got you out before they could finish. Her stomach twisted, fear coiling tighter. Finish. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. She shook her head, tears blurring her vision. And a pregnancy? How does that fit? Her hand pressed instinctively to her stomach, a gesture she hated but couldn't stop. Not mine. It can't be. But his story matched the gaps, the nausea, the fatigue. Anger flared again. You could have found me sooner. Why wait until my wedding? Michael's expression cracked, guilt etching lines around his eyes. He looked away, toward the dark street, his voice low. I tried. Tracked the cab, the hospital logs. But they scrubbed everything clean. By the time I pieced it together, you were engaged, planning a life. I didn't want to drag you into this mess. He turned back, his gaze intense, protective. But when I saw the ultrasound in those records, I couldn't let you go through with it without knowing. She searched his face, seeing the conflict there, the way his shoulders tensed, as if carrying a weight he couldn't share. He's not lying. The thought terrified her, a flicker of trust blooming against her will. His eyes held hers, a quiet intensity that sent a shiver through her, not just from fear. He looks at me like he cares, like he regrets more than he's saying. Her pulse quickened, confusion swirling with something warmer, unspoken. But who are they? She pressed, her voice steadier now, though her hands still trembled. The night air grew cooler, a soft drizzle starting to patter against the pavement, dotting her sweater. City sounds murmured in the distance, a car engine idling, footsteps echoing faintly. Michael hesitated, his breath catching. A criminal network. I'm part of it, Vanessa. Or was. Jerry's my brother. He kept tabs, but even he didn't know everything. His voice dropped, laced with vulnerability. That's why I'm risking this now. Telling you puts us both in danger. Her breath hitched. Jerry? Dave's best man. The connections snapped into place, dizzying. She glanced down the street, the drizzle blurring the lights. Then she saw it. A dark car parked across the way, its headlights off, but a shadow inside. Watching. Her skin prickled, fear sharpening her senses. Michael, she whispered, nodding subtly. That car is someone following us. He followed her gaze, his body tensing like a coil. His hand brushed her arm, protective, sending an unexpected spark through her. Damn it, he muttered, his voice urgent now. They must have trailed me. Vanessa's heart raced, the drizzle turning to a steady rain, soaking her hair. Danger. Real danger. Anger mixed with terror. She wanted to run, to scream at him for pulling her into this. But his touch lingered, his eyes on hers, regret and resolve mingling. He's the only one who knows the truth. We need to move, he said, his voice low, glancing back at the car. The engine across the street, revved faintly, a threat in the quiet night. She nodded, her mind spinning. Trust him? No choice. They started walking, the rain pattering around them, the street's dim lights casting long shadows. Her thoughts raced. Dave, Bella, her life unraveling like thread. What now? Michael turned to her, voice low and urgent. You need to leave town tonight, Vanessa. They know you're not dead. Vanessa's breath caught Michael's words. You need to leave town tonight, Vanessa. They know you're not dead. Hitting her like a punch. Her heart slammed against her ribs, the drizzle-soaked street blurring as fear tightened its grip. The dark car across the way loomed, its shadow still, watching. They know. Her mind raced, denial warring with the cold reality of the moment. This can't be happening. The rain pattered harder, soaking her sweater, her hair clinging to her face. She wanted to run, to scream, but her feet felt glued to the pavement. Michael's presence both a lifeline and a chain. We need to go. Now, Michael said, his voice low, urgent, his hand hovering near her arm, not quite touching. His eyes darted to the car, then back to her, a flicker of fear breaking through his calm. He's scared too. She shook her head, stepping back, her sneakers slipping on the wet asphalt. No, this is crazy. I'm not running with you. I don't even know you. Her voice cracked, anger surging over fear. You crashed my wedding, ruined my life, and now you're telling me to run? From who? You. Her hands trembled, the hospital report still burning in her mind, her name tied to his signature. He's lying. He has to be. A shadow moved near a window across the street, a silhouette shifting behind a curtain. Her breath hitched, fear spiking sharp and cold. Someone's there. The car's engine revved, low and menacing, headlights flickering on. Michael grabbed her wrist, his grip firm but not cruel. Vanessa, we don't have time. They'll kill you to tie up loose ends. Her pulse roared, drowning out the rain. Kill me? The word was a blade, cutting through her doubt. She yanked her wrist free but didn't run. His eyes held hers, pleading, and she saw his hand tremble slightly, betraying his steady voice. He's not lying about this. Her throat tightened, and she nodded, barely perceptible. Fine, but you tell me everything. Deal. He opened the car door, ushering her in. She slid into the passenger seat, the leather cold against her damp jeans, the faint smell of cigarette smoke and leather filling the space. Michael climbed in, his movements swift, practiced, and started the engine. The headlights stayed off, the car gliding silently onto the dark street, rain streaking the windshield. Vanessa's hands shook in her lap, her sweater clinging to her skin. The city blurred past, empty sidewalks, neon signs smearing in the wet night. You're controlling everything, she said, her voice low, bitter. You didn't just ruin my wedding, you're ruining me. Tears stung, but she refused to let them fall. Dave, Bella, my life. She saw Dave's hurt face, his doubt, and her chest ached. Why should I trust you? You're one of them, a criminal. Michael's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel, his jaw tight. He said quietly. Not anymore. Not after that night. He glanced at her, his eyes softening, and she noticed the faintest shake in his hands. I didn't ask for this either, Vanessa. I saw you in that clinic, caught in their mess. I couldn't leave you there. She wanted to hate him, to scream, but his vulnerability cracked her resolve. He's risking something too. The car turned onto a narrow road, the city fading into a stretch of quiet fields, the rain a soft drum against the roof. Her heart pounded, fear and reluctant trust tangling. Who are they? She asked, her voice steadier. You said a network. Give me a name. He hesitated, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. Vargas, he said finally, the name heavy, like a stone dropped between them. Elena owed them. Money, secrets, I don't know what. They don't make mistakes lightly. When they realize you weren't her, they let you go, but now they know you're alive, and they don't like loose ends. Her stomach dropped. Vargas. The name meant nothing, yet chilled her, a faceless threat. The ultrasound, the report, they flashed in her mind, undeniable. I'm a loose end. She pressed her hands to her face, the weight of it crushing. And the baby, she whispered, barely audible. How is that even possible? Michael's expression darkened, guilt flickering again. The clinic wasn't just patching you up. They ran tests, experiments, things I didn't know until later. I don't have all the answers, but I swear I'll find them with you. The car slowed, pulling into the gravel lot of a rundown motel, its neon sign flickering vacancy in red. The building was squat, weathered, the kind of place that blended into the night. Michael cut the engine, the silence deafening except for the rain's soft patter. He reached into the back seat, grabbing a jacket, and handed it to her. You're shivering, he said, his voice softer now, his fingers brushing hers as she took it. The gesture was small, but it sent a spark through her, confusing and unwanted. She wrapped the jacket around her shoulders, its warmth grounding her. Tell me everything, she said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. No more half-truths. What do they do to me? Why me? He leaned back, his breath slow, deliberate. You were a mistake, a random woman in a cab they thought was Elena. The accident was meant to look clean, but when they saw you, they panicked. The clinic was there as a front for other things. They ran tests, blood work, more than they needed. I didn't know about the pregnancy until I stole the records. His voice cracked barely, and he looked away, his hands clenching. I should have found you sooner. Vanessa's throat tightened, her mind spinning. Tests. Experiments. The word chilled her, conjuring images of sterile rooms, needles, her body not her own. She wanted to scream, to deny it, but the pieces fit. Her nausea, the gaps in her memory. They did something to me. Her hand drifted to her stomach, a reflex she hated. And you're sure it's yours? She asked, her voice breaking. He met her gaze, his eyes raw. The records said it was artificial. They had samples, Vanessa. I didn't know. His voice was quiet, pained, and she saw the truth in it, the weight he carried. Before she could respond, 3 hard, deliberate knocks echoed from the motel door. Her heart stopped, fear flooding her veins. Michael's expression hardened, his hand reaching for something under his seat. A gun. They found us, he said, his voice low, lethal. Michael's phone buzzed, but he ignored it, his hand steadying on the gun as the knocks echoed again, 3 sharp raps that cut through the rain's steady drum on the motel roof. Vanessa's heartbeat thundered in her ears, her back pressed against the thin wall, the jacket still warm around her shoulders. Fear choked her, her mind screaming run, but her legs locked in place. Michael held a finger to his lips, his eyes dark and focused, motioning her toward the bathroom. She nodded, slipping silently across the creaky floor, her breath shallow, ragged. Footsteps crunched on the gravel outside, shadows shifting under the door like fingers reaching in. Michael edged closer, gun raised, his free hand turning the knob slowly. The door creaked open a crack, and chaos erupted. A man in a black raincoat lunged, his fist connecting with Michael's jaw before the gun barked once, muffled by the storm. Vanessa stifled a scream as Michael staggered back, blood blooming on his shoulder, the intruder crumpling with a grunt. Vanessa, window! Michael barked, his voice tight with pain. She bolted to the bathroom, shoving the small window open, rain splattering her face. Michael fired again, the shot echoing as another shadow loomed in the doorway. He slammed the door shut, barricading it with a chair, his face pale but determined. Go. I'm right behind you. Her hand shook as she hoisted herself through the window, landing in a puddle outside, mud splashing her jeans. Thunder rumbled distant, low like a warning. Michael followed, grunting as he squeezed through, his shirt darkening with blood. He grabbed her hand, pulling her into the shadows behind the motel, their footsteps muffled by the downpour. The black car from earlier revved, headlights slicing the night, but they darted across the road into a thicket of trees, hearts pounding, breaths sinking in frantic rhythm. They ran until the motel lights faded, collapsing behind a cluster of bushes near a quiet roadside. Vanessa's lungs burned, her sweater soaked, but Michael's wound worried her more, blood seeping through his shirt, his face ashen under the faint moonlight. "You're hit," she whispered, tearing a strip from her shirt with trembling hands. "Let me see." He winced but nodded, leaning against a tree trunk. "Just a graze. I've had worse." But his voice was strained, his hand pressing to the wound. She knelt, peeling back the fabric, the metallic scent of blood mixing with rain. The bullet had torn through his shoulder, not deep but ugly. She pressed the cloth to it, her fingers sticky, her mind a whirlwind. "He protected me." Again, anger and fear collided. Anger at him for dragging her into this, fear that he was all she had. "Talk," she said, her voice fierce despite the quiver. "All of it. Why say I'm carrying your child when we never met? What experiment? What serum?" Her eyes locked on his, demanding, the rain dripping from her hair like tears she wouldn't shed. Michael hissed as she applied pressure, his dark eyes meeting hers, raw and unguarded. "A year ago, he started, his breath labored. I was deep in the network, Vargas's operation. They stole a serum, experimental, meant to alter bloodlines, create loyalties through biology. It was tied to me, samples from my blood, my family. Codename was Bloodline Heir. In the underworld, carrying my child, it's slang for someone implanted with it, linked forever." Vanessa's hands froze, the cloth damp against his skin. Not a child, a code. Her mind reeled, pieces slamming together. The hazy night, the clinic, her unexplained fatigue. They used me? My blood was compatible. Her voice broke, horror flooding her. Memory loss. Tests. It wasn't an accident. He nodded, guilt etching his features. They grabbed you by mistake, thinking you were Elena. But your blood matched the serum's profile. Rare type, something in your genetics. They injected it, ran the tests, confirmed it took. I found out later from stolen files. I've been hunting the truth since, trying to find you before they realized the mix-up wasn't buried. She rocked back on her heels, speechless, the thunder closer now, rumbling like her shattered world. Implanted, linked to him. It made horrifying sense. Her doctor's vague records, the ultrasound not showing a baby, but something else, altered cells perhaps. Betrayal burned hot. You lied. From the start. You let me think. Her voice cracked, tears mixing with rain. Why not tell me sooner? Protect me? You ruined everything, day my life. Michael's hand covered hers on the wound, his touch gentle despite the pain. I want proof first. Didn't want to drag you into hell without it. And when I saw you at the church, I couldn't let you marry without knowing you're tied to this, to me. His eyes held hers, vulnerable, a silent apology in the storm. I'm sorry, Vanessa. I never meant for any of this. The air hung heavy between them, rain softening to a mist. She didn't pull away, her hand lingering under his, emotions raw, betrayal twisting with reluctant understanding. He's been protecting me. Their breaths mingled, close in the shadows, a fragile moment where fear gave way to something deeper, unspoken. Thunder cracked, jolting her back. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket, insistent. He fished it out, his face hardening as he answered. A distorted voice crackled through. Too late, Michael. We have Bella. Vanessa's world froze, terror gripping her anew. Bella. Michael froze, the phone slipping from his blood-slicked hand, the distorted voice echoing in the misty air. Vanessa's horror surged like ice through her veins, her hand flying to her mouth as Bella's name hit her like a gut punch. No, not her. The thunder rumbled closer, but Michael's face, pale, etched with fury, snapped her back. He grabbed the phone, smashing it against the tree trunk, his wound seeping fresh blood. We go now, he growled, his voice raw, pulling her to her feet. No time for doubt. Vanessa nodded, her mind a storm of terror and rage, following him through the underbrush, branches whipping their faces. They burst onto the road, Michael hot-wiring a parked truck with practice speed, the engine roaring to life. Rain hammered the roof as they sped off, headlights cutting through the night like knives. Track her phone, Vanessa said, her voice shaking but sharp, fumbling for her own device. Michael dictated Bella's number, his eyes locked on the rear view, checking for tails. The signal blinked, a faint dot on the map, leading to the old dockyard by the river. Vanessa's heart pounded, images of Bella tied, scared, flashing in her mind. This is my fault. All of it. The truck skidded into the dockyard, gravel crunching under tires, the warehouse looming like a shadow against the stormy sky. Rusted shipping containers stacked high, the air thick with salt and decay. Michael killed the engine, handing her a spare knife from his boot. "Stay behind me," he whispered, his breath labored from a wound. They slipped inside through a side door, the creak echoing in the vast, empty space. Bella's muffled cries guided them, tied to a chair in the center, her eyes wide with fear. Vanessa's breath caught, but before she could rush forward, a figure stepped from the shadows. Jerry Dark, gun in hand, his face twisted in a cold smile. "Brother," he said, voice dripping venom. "You always were too soft." Michael tensed, shielding Vanessa. "Jerry, you? Why?" Jerry laughed, low and bitter. "Vargas needed leverage. Your empire was crumbling, debts, rivals closing in. Vanessa's blood was the key, rare, compatible with the serum. We used it to frame you, make it look like you stole it yourself, set you against them, watch you burn. But she survived, and now, loose ends. Vanessa's blood ran cold, the pieces locking in. Framed, all to destroy him." Rage boiled over. "You bastard," she spat, but Jerry raised the gun, aiming at Michael. The shot cracked, but Michael lunged, tackling Jerry, the bullet grazing his arm. They rolled across the concrete, fists flying, grunts echoing. Vanessa darted to Bella, slicing the ropes with a knife, her hands steady despite the fear. "It's okay," she whispered, pulling her friend free. Bella sobbed, clutching her. Jerry pinned Michael, knife at his throat. "You should have stayed out, brother." Michael twisted, taking a slash to his side, blood spilling, but he headbutted Jerry, staggering him. Vanessa charged, slamming the chair into Jerry's back. He crumpled, gun skittering away. Michael grabbed it, holding Jerry down as sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have heard the shots. Vanessa pressed her hands to Michael's new wound, blood warm under her fingers. "Hold on," she said, her voice breaking. Police lights flashed through the windows, red and blue piercing the gloom. Officers burst in, cuffing Jerry, his curses fading as they dragged him out. In the chaos's wake, medics bandaged Michael, the rain easing to a drizzle outside. Vanessa sat beside him on a crate, Bella wrapped in a blanket nearby, safe but shaken. Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through the warehouse grates. Michael turned to her, his eyes heavy with pain and truth. "I said you were carrying my child because, in my world, it meant you carried my future, even when I didn't know your name. The serum linked us, Vanessa. Your blood saved me from their trap, but it bound us. I couldn't let you walk away blind." Tears welled, but she wiped them, her hand finding his. "I hated you for it," she whispered. "But now, I understand. You were trying to save me, even when it broke everything." Forgiveness bloomed, warm and real, washing away the anger. She leaned in, their foreheads touching, a quiet promise in the shared breath. As the sun rose, casting soft light over the river, Vanessa felt the weight lift. Bella hugged her, Dave's distant call on her phone a bridge to mend. With Michael, the chaos had forged something unbreakable, not in memories, but in the storm they'd survived. Sometimes, love isn't found in memories. It's found in the chaos that was meant to destroy you.